Welcome back to the Grind, Sleep, Repeat podcast. We are on episode 4 of our half marathon training, and today we are going to talk about some of the struggles that we are currently going through during this prep and how we are navigating through these current struggles.
Yeah, like when you start a training plan or an endurance event that you set that you're going to run, or any event with fitness, you create a plan. And I think you always have to know how to pivot when you create that plan because things are going to happen. Not everything is going to go according to plan. This last week we kind of had an example of that, or I had an example of that. I currently have my boot off. I let my foot air out, but I am currently out of commission for this half marathon prep. So Sunday last week, I recorded a video on my channel earlier this week that I posted. Severely rolled my ankle. I was running at a lake, and just where the asphalt goes off in the grass, I just wasn't paying attention. Was moving over where someone was passing me, and I just rolled off the side completely, rolled my ankle. So can barely walk on it. I'm in a boot, and that obviously is not part of the plan. So, moving forward, you have to know how to pivot and how to make sure that you're giving your body the time to heal and make sure that you're not setting yourself up for future failure down the road or failure or injury or anything like that by rushing that process. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Also talk about some of the challenges that we've faced so far in our training because, not every workout's the PR perfect workout. There's days that are good, days that are bad. Some days you're just logging miles. Some days you're just lifting weights. That's all part of the process.
Yeah, in a perfect world, everything would go as planned, and we're here to be real with you guys and explain to you guys that not everything is always sunshine and rainbows. And though it may seem that way at times, you may think, oh, they're doing this prep and they got all this time on their hands and they don't have, these struggles that I'm going through. And, I think everybody has all different types of struggles. And the point of today's video is to share with you guys our struggles and how we are currently finding ways to navigate through these struggles. And, like Jordan said, he is currently undergoing an injury. So obviously he's not able to run right now. So he can chat with you a little bit about what that looks like to continue to get him prepared to hopefully be ready to still do the race. And again, it's not going to be the same as what he had hoped for, but it's, in hopes to still accomplish the goal. And having a plan A and a plan B is always kind of the best way to approach a training structure. So, like for example, going into this week, we are continuously trying to up the mileage. So for me, the heat, it's still super humid and hot outside right now. And so I've been battling the heat. So there was a few days that, to be really honest with you guys, I wasn't able to get my full mileage. And that being super frustrating. And, while I continue to beat myself up over this, I have to remember that, if you're not properly fueled for these runs, if you're not properly hydrated for these runs, and then you go out in this extreme heat, it's 90 degrees here, the humidity is insane, I'm just setting myself up for failure. So though we've talked time and time again about this, I am human. I am going to make mistakes. I'm going to have things that come up too. So, I just want to share with you guys what that looks like and how, we can pivot from that.
Yeah, so give a little context about that. Alyssa's humble. She's not going to give you the context around why that run was not very successful for her. So the heat was one factor. Running the heat, depending on where you live, it can really affect your workout. Even if it's not like super hot when you're just walking outside, that heat can feel super extreme when you're running. And the hotter you get, the more you're running, the hotter you feel, the less hydrated you get. You're pushing out water. So for Alyssa, she had 4 training sessions back to back. She had a protein bar around 7:45, like in the middle of one of her training sessions. She had breakfast around 5 something in the morning, and she had some carbohydrates and electrolytes before the run, but she went and ran at like 12 o'clock. So she was thinking that she had a 4-mile run. She looked at the program. She was like, oh shit, I have a 7-mile run. I would have approached this a little differently. So with something like that, like it just was a couple of the right things to fall the wrong way. and not being prepared. And that happens. I think it takes a lot to own up to that and say that. And I just wanted to set the conditions because
Yeah.
Alyssa just made it sound like she just quit. It definitely wasn't that. She just kind of shot herself in the foot with, working is a huge obstacle for anybody. You're working around your work schedule, around kids' schedule,
Kids.
and you're training for an endurance event, a half marathon. You have to get your training in. You have to build up mileage over the weeks. And if you are working and navigating all those different things, it can be challenging. And sometimes 12 o'clock in the middle of the day is the time that we get to run. So, that's the only time we have, and we make the best that we can with it. Obviously, you're going to have to pull your pace back. What I would say is, just try and do the best you can. Last week, before I bumped my ankle, I went for a run on, I think it was Thursday or Friday, and it was supposed to be like a 6-mile easy pace run, and it got super hot. I got super sweaty. My heart rate got pretty high because of the heat. Again, just do the best you can because, I think you're going to show up ready and prepared on race day a lot better if you still run the mileage or you still get through it, even if it's not your goal pace or your ideal pace of where you want it to be, because not every workout's going to be amazing. I think there's a lot to be said about showing up even when you're not 100%. I think fitness and training for an endurance event like a half marathon or setting fitness goals really teaches you to keep showing up even when you don't feel 100%. We're not sleeping 9-10 hours a night. We're dealing with running a business. We're dealing with getting kids to sports. We're dealing with trying to maintain our sanity and our fitness. So all those things can really compound and make your recovery not optimal. So I'd say, just show up the best you can on the circumstances and the given day that you are training for a certain workout. Give 100% of what you have. And I think that's going to set yourself up for success down the road to be able to have that discipline to show up and have the confidence to show up even if you don't feel 100%.
Yeah, we're here to be raw and real with you guys. And I think it's important to see other people's struggles because we could just come on here and tell you all of our wins and all the victories, but to give you the raw, real truth of how we're feeling. And these types of training preps take a lot of energy and a lot of effort. So if you don't have every single box checked before going into your training session, it's going to be challenging. And so I think that's kind of what I wanted to come on here and say today too, is after, processing that run and being outside in the heat and looking back and saying, what could I have done differently to prepare myself for this? There's a whole list of things I could have done differently. I could have looked at the training program ahead in advance, but I think something that I'm also struggling with is my schedule weekly changes. So as much as I could say every Tuesday and Thursday are going to be my, long distance and fartlek training or interval training runs, and then on Sundays, those are going to be my long runs. That sometimes has to change for me, just depending on, my training schedule or kids drop off schedule, kids pickup schedule. And I think that is kind of what I'm struggling with right now is finding that, balance of, okay, if this week my schedule is going to be different, I have to run on Mondays and Fridays and Sunday or whatever. Figuring out how I can navigate through that, I guess, is what I'm kind of trying to figure out. So when I went for that run and I realized it was 7 miles, it's because initially I thought it was just a 4-mile run. And, I would have packed a water bottle. I would have tried to eat something closer to that run that was going to satisfy me and fuel me for that longer run, carbohydrates to be specific. And I think I would have been able to get through that. But not only, that, but the path that I took is super hilly. And so then when you're in the heat and you're running up these hills and you're used to running around more of that lake flat surface, that was a whole nother challenge. So yeah, I just decided to do, instead of 7 miles, I did 5 miles. And even on that last mile, I had to stop, run. And that is definitely a humbling experience.
Yeah. It's essentially Alyssa bonked. That's what happened.
Yeah.
We've all been there. And when you bonk, there's just nothing you can do. It's just you are behind the 8 ball. You're dehydrated. You're underfueled at that point, and you're going to get diminishing returns with your effort. So looking at things differently, what she could have done, like she said, ate closer to the workout, um, maybe planned it on a different day depending on the schedule. Feel free when you create a plan, or with the clients that we create plans with for too. We'll have that communication back and forth and be like, hey, Jordan, I have this run on this day and this strength workout on this day. Is it okay if I switch it here? Or I'm going to be out of town. Should I front load maybe more strength workouts? I could go for a run when I'm out of town. That's perfectly fine. I think the thing that matters is you get all your workouts in throughout the week, even if they have to move around a little bit. And half marathon prep is the same way. When I was 20 years old and I didn't have a bunch of responsibilities, I could follow a program to a T on the day. I could go to any time of workout that I needed to. The diet, like everything could be completely great. Yeah. So it's one of those things that, we're at a different stage of life. And a lot of you listening to this podcast might be at a different stage of life too. And you want to prioritize your health and your fitness. And you want to sign up for a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, a marathon. You want to push your limits. You want to test yourself. You have to remember that, this is a sacrifice, and you might have to, if a midday run is the only time that you have, maybe when it's really hot, at least for right now, towards the end of summer, maybe you do go run at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And that's a sacrifice because you're going to get less time with your family, less time with your significant other. But again, just remembering that you're going to have a better run at that time, just communicate that, Alyssa or me, like when I can run again, if we communicate that with each other, like, hey, it's really hot. I can only run at 2 p.m. today. Is it cool if after we get the kids in bed, or are you cool if I go for a run in the evening? You just have that communication back and forth. We both understand our goals. We both understand why it's important that, an evening run is going to be a lot better for her. It's going to be more safe from a dehydration standpoint for her. And I think it's just important if you have that communication back and forth with your significant other or the people around you, so that you can try and prioritize this. It's not selfish to sign up for a fitness event, or it's not selfish to prioritize your health. Sometimes it can feel like that. But it's something that if you're looking to make yourself better, if you're looking to improve and just be able to show up better for someone and your family, I think it's really worth it. It's not selfish.
Yeah, the only way that you can get better is to reflect back on those experiences, learn from them, and find a way that you could have done better in that situation. But let's chat about that.
The ankle, yeah, I'm avoiding it. I don't want to talk about it. So yeah, it's a severe ankle sprain. I didn't break any bones. I think the only thing that saved me from not breaking my ankle was as soon as I rolled off the edge, my ankle completely twisted to the side. And I took all my weight and I just threw myself down on the asphalt and just absolutely ate shit. My hand is scraped up, my knee is scraped up, my shoulder scraped up. And I think that really made the ankle sprain less severe and versus like a bone break or a fracture or anything like that. So, right now my plan, I'm strength training upper body exclusively pretty much every day right now. I'm not kicking it and just chilling and with my foot up every day. We're still business as usual, doing 8 to 10 training sessions a day here at the gym, kids sports, all that type of stuff. I just can't run right now. So for the time being, my guess would be at least 3 to 4 weeks where I can maybe run again. I'm not sure. We're going to see. Just going to take it one day at a time, doing lots of daily mobility work. Eventually I'll work on doing some stability work and some ankle strengthening exercises. For conditioning right now, I'm using the skier. So I can't row, I can't bike. Obviously I can't run. So the skier is going to be my best friend to try and maintain some sort of conditioning. I could get into where I am doing some longer distance aerobic skis. That might be something that could be beneficial in the future just to maintain some sort of aerobic base. Because that's something I'm worried about. Like, I've built up my running over time, and with strength training and building muscle, I understand that it takes time to lose muscle mass. And a lot of times when you take time off or you get injured, you take that time off and you rebuild it pretty quickly. Conditioning is kind of like that, but you can see decreases in cardiovascular output and conditioning in as little as 3 to 5 days. So it's something you can lose very, very quickly. And that becomes very apparent when you aren't running anymore, when you're used to running 3 times a week. So right now I'm just day by day, TBD. I would still love to run the half marathon. And It might be something where I pivot my goal a little bit to say, hey, maybe my goal would be to run with Alyssa for the half marathon. We never get to run together in races, and that would be really cool if I can keep up with her. We'll see. I told her, if I can't keep up, my ankle goes, like, leave me behind. I don't want you to sacrifice your half marathon for me. But that would be cool if we could run together and we could pace each other and just have that experience. I would still love to run a sub 135 half marathon. I don't know what it looks like. So for the future, I'm just taking it one day at a time, and just it gives me a little perspective around running. I do have a little bit of FOMO, and it's just something that you take those things for granted when you have the ability to run, when you have the ability to work out, when you have your health. I think it's something that when you don't have the ability to do those things, it really gives you the perspective on how important it is, how much you enjoy that, and how much of a big part of your life it is. So I'm trying to take that away from that. Is this experience has really taught me that I do really love running. I love having my health and my fitness. And like I said, I'm still strength training every day. I'm still working out 6 days a week. My upper body's freaking wrecked right now because I'm doing upper body like every day right now because it's all I can do. But, just never take that for granted. You just want to make sure that you understand how important your health is and prioritizing your health is in your lifestyle.
Yeah. So when I'm sucking wind and dying, I'll think of you and say, okay, suck it up because Jordan wants to be doing this and you get to be doing this. So no, but seriously, I think you've done a good job of icing, ibuprofen, mobility. So if you keep up with those things and you're realistic with, and in tune with your body and how you're feeling, I think that it's going to help you heal faster. Now, if you were to not listen to your body and not ice and not ibuprofen and not do your mobility and stuff like that, I think, and then you were to jump into like, okay, I'm going to go try to run. I think that would just push you back further. So I think it's important to really take each step and each day by day to make sure that you heal this properly so that you can be running sooner. As much as that sounds ass backwards, it's important to heal fully and correctly before jumping into this.
Yeah, it's something I would rather sacrifice this half marathon prep and my pride rather than setting myself up for failure down the road and rushing it too quickly and running into a more serious injury
Right.
to where I can't run for an extended period of time. So,
Right.
My goal is still to run this half marathon. We're just going to take it one day at a time, whether it's at my goal pace and I crush it and I'm ready in 2 weeks to run, or if I can only run the week before the half marathon and I'm completely out of half marathon shape. And my goal is just to finish it. We'll see what happens. But I really am hell bent on still trying to run it and just do the best I can. And just like I said, set myself up for success after this half marathon. Part of me, is like, suck it up and just go run and you'll be fine. And the other part of me, the smart, intelligent part of me is saying, take your time. So it's a battle of that in my head. And Alyssa, the people around me. Yes, I have a lot of good support. I have a lot of good clients that have like brought me stuff. Like one brought me a knee scooter, one brought me a boot that I'm using. Alyssa's been helping me out with everything under the sun, getting me things and get me ice and like just really helping out and picking up slack. So I do appreciate it.
Yeah.
When I'm 100%, I will be ready to go, and it'll be because I've had your support too.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's going to take some time, not only from the injury, but the mental aspect too. And we've talked a little bit about that and overcoming those mental thoughts of like getting back to running, and now like maybe being hyper aware of running on that concrete and that grass. And
Yeah, I'm gonna be locked on the ground.
Yeah.
Especially in that spot that I ate shit.
yeah, you're like, this is definitely PTSD right here. But I think, I think it's just going to take some time. And I think it's important for us to take you on this journey and show you guys week by week in these episodes of how we're doing, how we're feeling, but also show you the struggles and give you some education along the way as well.
Yeah, it's not always pretty, but you just got to get it done and do the best you can with what you have on any given day. So
Yeah.
we hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the podcast. And if you guys have any questions about training, half marathon training, diet, or any ideas for future episodes, we'd love to hear it. Just let us know down in the comment section below. So go check out those videos on the top of the screen next. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you guys in the next one.